Hallmarkies podcast. I'm Kami Clements, and I'm here with Jess.
Hey, everybody.
We are minus our fearless leader, Rachel, today, and so it's up to us to give you the reviews for these two movies that we were sent on assignment for, may I add. This is very important, official Hallmarkies podcast business. So I went to go and see the movie Christmas Jars. It was a one-night event. It was a Fathom event, and Jess went to go and see Last Christmas. So, Jess, tell me about Last Christmas. Did you recognize anybody? What were the main plot points? What'd you think of it? Go.
Okay, so Last Christmas, it stars Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding. I did recognize Emilia. I haven't actually watched the stuff that she's in, but you may recognize her from Game of Thrones, as well as Me Before You, which was a movie that came out a while ago, I think. And then Henry Golding was in Crazy Rich Asians, but hasn't been in really many other things aside from that. And
he's adorable.
He is. I really do love him.
Really good looking.
And so when I first saw the preview for this movie, I thought I was going to hate it. I was like, oh, it looks like a really kind of edgy Christmas film. Like, I don't think that's gonna be what I want. It doesn't seem anything like, a feel-good Hallmark movie. So I kind of went in with some low expectations, but I tried to keep it, my an open mind as I watched it. But I actually ended up really liking it. It wasn't my 100% favorite movie. But I really liked it. It had some really good themes, and it was funny too. And I always like a movie that can make me laugh. So I think, it definitely ended up being a lot better than I expected.
What was your favorite part?
I think my favorite part was actually the ending, which at first made me really mad until I realized where it was going. I don't know if you want me to get into that right now, or if you want me to talk about a little more of the other plot before that.
Go for it.
Okay. So it starts out with, the movie starts out in Yugoslavia, and with the main character, Kate, as her younger self. And she's singing at like a Christmas concert, and her family's in the audience, and it's, really kind of a nice, serene moment.
And Emma Thompson plays her mom, doesn't she?
I believe so. I can double check that really quick.
I've got it right here. Her mother's name is Petra, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Emma Thompson. Big screen name.
Yeah. So then it flashes forward to London in the year of 2017 when she's an adult. And basically, Kate is the main character's name. It's basically a hot mess. She does not have her life together at all. She was supposed to be a singer, but instead she works as an elf in a Christmas shop. And she kind of goes on a lot of dates with men, just like really casual things. And she ends up, it's kind of making a disaster wherever she goes. Like, it shows different scenes of her, like when she goes to stay with people, she'll like break something really important, or things like that.
Oh my gosh.
So she's just kind of like this walking, very clumsy person whose life is clearly not together.
Basically a walking disaster.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was a disaster in my life, but she is a couple steps above that. And so I guess we kind of really get into the main point when she is in the store and she's dusting off some objects at the window, and she sees this guy outside, and he is just standing there looking up at the sky. And she's like, okay, what is he looking at? Like, he's just like staring up at the sky. And so she walks out to be with him, and he tells her to look up, and there's this bird that's up there, and then the bird poops on her head. On her face.
Gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh.
So yeah, I think it goes like right in her eye. Like, oh my gosh.
That's not exactly what you'd call a Christmas miracle.
No, and of course, I'm just cracking up because it just reminded me of the time when I was at a theme park and I was eating and got pooped on by a bird. So, I was like very connected with her at that moment. I'm like, yeah, that's happened to me before.
You
Not in
felt
the
her
eye,
pain.
thankfully.
You felt her pain.
Yeah. And so they start chatting a little bit, and he tells her, oh, it's good luck getting pooped on by a bird. I'm like, okay.
I saw that in the preview and I thought, okay, you're really reaching, dude. You really must want to impress her because
right. And he wants to go on a walk with her, and she doesn't want to go. And it was really funny. She said, I'm busy, you're weird, goodbye. And she just like shuts the door in his face to the store.
That's a new twist on a turn down, on an old classic turn down.
Yeah, I'm busy, you're weird, goodbye. So he's very different from her, and they end up running into each other again later on. I don't know if it's that night or later, but she has like an audition that she ends up being late for, because her life's a disaster, and so she doesn't get the part. And they run into each other again, and kind of continue to get to know each other. They go on a walk, and she learns that he helps out at a homeless shelter, and she's, super cynical. She's like, oh, of course you work at a homeless shelter. You're clearly this very nice guy, and I'm this, very clearly not put together girl. And so there's that where they sort of get to know each other a little bit more. But yeah, so he's very upbeat, and we learn a little bit more about her life after that as well. So she's very much estranged from her family. So she's actually, at the time, she's like, her family lives, I believe, in London, but she won't stay with them, even though she's basically hopping from friend's house to friend's house, because they've been estranged for a long time. She's not on good terms with her mother or her sister. And she's just like refuses to go stay with her mom and dad, even though she technically has no place to live. And and so eventually she kind of has to, because she keeps getting kicked out of her friends' houses for one reason or another.
So she hits rock bottom.
Yeah, pretty much. She hits rock bottom. So she does end up going to stay with her family, and we learn more about her. She had a heart operation when she was younger. So we learn a little bit about that. And her sister, Marta, is kind of the more successful one. She's a lawyer, and of course here's her who has basically no real job. She's an elf at a
lawyer versus elf in a shop. Yeah, that'd be really, really hard to live up to.
Yeah, so there's tension and a bit of resentment floating around, and they do a little later on end up having dinner, and there's like a huge argument as well, and she really hurts her sister during this dinner, because she drops the bomb that her sister his roommate is really more than a roommate. She's living with another woman, and they actually are in a relationship, so she drops that bomb to her family and pretty much alienates.
That's just mean.
Yeah, she alienates her sister even further, and so at some point she ends up going to the homeless shelter where Tom volunteers and is looking for him. And the people there don't seem to really know who Tom is. So at this point, we're already kind of starting to get this inkling something's a little off here. They don't really know who this guy is, even though he works there. Tom doesn't have a phone. He says he leaves his phone in the cupboard at home because he doesn't like to be bothered by all the messages and getting the distractions, which I guess is valid, but to never have your phone.
In the early 2000s, yeah, I believe that. But in 2019, no, sorry, not buying it.
Yeah, so I'm getting some weird vibes at this point. I'm not really sure what's going on. But she looks around the shelter, and she ends up kind of getting voluntold to help out. And so she sort of helps out for a little bit. And nothing much comes from that at that point. And then later on, she eventually runs into Tom again. And of course, you know, she's still down on her luck, and he actually takes her back to his place. And it is like the most spotless apartment you've ever seen in your life. Like, it looks like nobody lives there.
Which is very rare for a bachelor. So
yes,
that's
but
another
also
red flag.
your spidey senses tingling because it's a hint of something.
Red flag, spidey sense. Bling, 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 bling.
Yeah. And this kind of becomes a turning point for her because she really opens up to him about her surgery, her heart surgery, which was actually, we learned, a heart transplant that she had. And yeah, and so she basically kind of admits that, you know, after the transplant, she never really quite felt the same again. Like, something just felt different. And he is just really kind to her. And, you know, through this whole process, he's been very non-judgmental with her. Like, he kind of meets her where she's at and doesn't really like put her down and judge her like everyone else in her life kind of does.
Right.
And so, yeah, it becomes a turning point for her. And she, you know, she stays the night there, and she actually invites him into bed with her. And he doesn't. He's like, we barely know each other. And she's like, I just like literally shared everything with you. How can you say we don't know each other?
The guy says we barely know. Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
I was surprised. So yeah, that was her turning point. And when she wakes up, it's like she becomes a new person. She goes into work early the next day. She buys her boss a latte. She starts eating healthy because she's been like literally eating all these street vendors' food throughout the whole movie.
I mean, once in a while for a treat, great, but a steady diet of that, yeesh. Her digestive system has got to be on the fritz. Her digestive system has got to be on the fritz.
Yeah, so we see her start to eat healthy again. She basically starts, you know, making amends with her family. She apologizes to her sister. She spends quality time with her mom for once. They go to the market, like the street market, and have a really good time together. And so you really see her start to change. Her heart begins to kind of warm up, and she becomes less cynical. And then what's really cool is she starts doing this thing for the homeless shelter that she kind of had helped out at that one time. She starts singing for money to give to them. So she puts a little cup outside and she starts singing and gives all that money to the shelter. And so we see her kind of start to bring in that singer part of her back to everything. And then she takes it a step farther and actually holds auditions at the homeless shelter to have a Christmas pageant with the folks at the homeless shelter, which was really, really cool.
Now, do you know if Emilia Clarke was actually singing? Do you know if she's a singer?
I meant to look that up, but I did not. And she did fine singing. I don't think maybe that she's an actual singer. Let me see if I can.
But you don't think she was dubbed? It sounded like her.
Yeah, no, it sounded like her. Yeah, I don't know if she's a real singer or not. Maybe. That's something to find out.
That's your homework, Hallmarkies. Go out and find it.
But yeah, and then she's been doing a lot of this stuff, and then she runs into Tom again because, you know, he's kind of hard to track down. She keeps like losing him. And
well, he doesn't have a phone that he uses, so
right. I know. And, you know, they've been having some tender moments and stuff, and heart transplant. And she tells him, I'm not going to heal my heart and then give it to someone who's going to break it, because he keeps disappearing. And yeah.
Wow. That cuts straight to the heart. Wow.
It does. And so then he basically says like she can't rely on him. And yeah, and so they kind of leave it like that, where feels like a breakup. I guess I don't know if they were really ever a couple, but it feels like a breakup kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point again, she goes back to find him at his apartment. And when she walks in, there's another guy there, and it's a realtor. And the guy thinks she's someone else. I think he thinks she's coming to look at the property. But she's like, oh no, I'm just looking for Tom. and he does not know who Tom is. And she, I think she mentions that that Tom lived there or something, and he says, no one lives here. It's been vacant.
So the spidey senses and the red flags have now been confirmed.
And then the realtor mentions the previous owner died, and his last name was Webster, which we learned was Tom's last name earlier in the movie. So we have there's like a flashback moment of a guy being wheeled into the hospital, and it's Tom. So that's when I get really upset. That's why
oh my gosh!
He's been dead the whole time. She's been with like ghosts. I'm like, come on, like.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! What a letdown! You know?
So I was really, really mad. Then I'm like, it's just like when you're reading a book and it was like the ending is, and it was all just a dream. You know, that's the feeling I had at that moment.
Oh man!
But then we learned something that changes it for me and makes it an okay ending, and it's actually why I really like the ending. So when I don't even know if they mentioned, I think it may have been a car accident. I can't remember. But remember she had a heart transplant. When he died, they transplanted his heart into her.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay. Like
it was his heart. Well, yeah, it now makes sense why he was always with her, but wow.
Yeah. So like everything comes together. I'm just like in the theater, like, oh my gosh, how did I not like even begin to see this coming? Like, I feel like it should have been obvious by that point, but I was just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening?
Well, that puts an entirely new meaning on the words "we hardly know each other."
Right. Yeah. And she begins to, well, I don't know if she realized it at that moment. I think it was when she goes back to the garden, which was where they had kind of hung out a little bit. That's like a little random garden. And that was when he told her, you know, you can't rely on me, was in this garden. So she goes back there after realizing he's dead. And I think that's when she learns that it was his heart that she received. And he tells her, I really love this line. He's like, take care of my heart. It was always going to be yours one way or the other. I was like,
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
I know.
Oh, that is the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was, yeah. So it really ended up being a really good ending, I think, because of that part. If it had just been he was dead the whole time, I've been like, no. But I did like that connection and the fact that she, her personality became more warm and less cynical, which was his, more of his personality. You could kind of see like she's accepting that new heart, and that's why she had been feeling so out of sorts, was her new heart, and she kind of begins to embrace that after him. And then he gets off. He had been sitting on a bench, and they had sat at that bench many times before, and he gets up, and on the bench it has his name with his birth year and death year, and it says "Look up," which is what he had told her a lot. Like with the bird, he told her to look up, and she got pooped on, and so it was something he had told her a lot. So it was like on that bench, it was like a memorial bench. I was like, oh, this is really sweet. So yeah, that was kind of like the last major thing that happened, and then it really ended with the Christmas concert that she had put together for the homeless, and she gets on stage with them and she sings Last Christmas, which was actually, as said in the beginning, the movie was based on the song Last Christmas. That's kind of like the inspiration. So yeah, it kind of all came together, and we see her really transform through the movie, which was really kind of, I think, the great theme for me was seeing that transformation, because I didn't think I was going to like that cynical kind of attitude, but it really worked in the end.
Now, you said that she sang Last Christmas with him on the stage. Did you say that he was there
no,
on the
it was just her.
When she sang?
She was with all the homeless folks that she had auditioned to, like the concert pageant, whatever it ended up being. But yeah, she sang the song, and it kind of was a good connection to the beginning when she was singing, because her family's in the audience. Everyone's you know, a lot, like you can tell they're all connected again, and they have dinner at the end too, and you see them being a family once again. They finally kind of mended all those broken ties.
So bottom line, you liked it.
I did. I liked it. And I do want to put a little disclaimer out for all the Hallmarkies listening. It's not quite a Hallmark-friendly movie. There is a little bit of language and, you know, some innuendo. You know, she does sleep around a little bit. But they don't really show too much. So it's, you know, I thought it was fine. But you probably don't want your kids maybe to be seeing it. But yeah, and the only thing I think that I didn't really like super much, it didn't quite feel like a Christmas movie to me. I mean, it was like Christmas Eve, but you know, it's not like the type of Christmas movie you think about, like
right.
Like the tree lighting. You know, they have all those like Christmas events. You don't get any of that really in this movie. It's more like set.
It's more of a Christmas background.
Yeah, the most Christmas part really is that she works in a Christmas store and it's Christmas time. So it doesn't quite work for me as a Christmas movie, but it still has a very Christmas type theme of, you know, being your new self and embracing everything in life and things like that. So,
okay, now here is the clincher of the question. What did her outfit look like when she got up on stage and she sang Last Christmas? Was it a killer outfit?
I don't even know if I remember her outfit. I do remember she had Christmas lights strung around her outfit. I think I was distracted by that.
Oh!
And I think all the other people, the homeless people, had lights strung around them too. I think they all like were lit up with their own like Christmas lights.
Well, just like the character of Kate had a bit of bling on her, we want to take a moment and thank our sponsors for this podcast. So, Jess, have you ever gotten ready with the perfect outfit like Kate with the Christmas lights wrapped around you, but you're still missing one thing to complete your entire look? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yes, all the time.
Yeah. So my guess is, because it's usually what it is for me, it's probably jewelry. And one of the easiest ways to enhance and complete your look is the right kind of jewelry. I remember when I went to go and see Christmas Jars, I was looking at my outfit. I look so drab. I look terrible. And I added a necklace, and that's exactly what I needed. So wouldn't it be nice to have someone send you jewelry that's both trendy and classic without ever having to think about it? May I present Meet Glamour Jewelry. Glamour, yay! Meet Glamour Jewelry Box, everyone. An affordable monthly jewelry subscription service that sends you trendy jewelry every month to your door. Pieces include necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. So you get a set of each with every box. Necklace, bracelet, and earrings. You'll have the perfect jewelry pieces to complete and enhance any outfit for work, like being an elf in a Christmas shop. Dinner parties, or a night out singing on stage. Glamour Jewelry is the only jewelry subscription service that lets you customize your collection and keep every single piece you receive. So for any of you listening, you can save $5 off your first month subscription. So go to glamourjewelrybox.com and use the offer code Hallmarkies during checkout. And then you can look as glamorous as Kate on stage. All right. So out of 5 crowns, I know it's not a Hallmark movie, but what do you give it?
I would say I would give it a solid 3.75.
3.75. All righty. Move into Christmas Jars, which is the movie that I went to go see. So this is based on a book called Christmas Jars by Jason Wright. And this movie was actually not done by a regular production company. It was done by BYU Broadcasting. And it was actually by BYU TV Broadcasting. And it was actually supposed to air on the BYU TV channel. And then it got changed to this Fathom event. And at first I was really disappointed. But then I went and saw it and I said, okay, yeah, this was really fun to see in the theater on the big screen. So So yeah, the author is Jason Wright, and this was a fun thing. The man who plays the father in the father of the family. We have the girl, the main character whose name is Hope, and I'll get into that in a second. And then we have this family that she comes into contact with. And the father, his name is Adam Maxwell, and he is played by Ron Lee. And Hallmarkies, if that name does not sound familiar, then go and look him up on IMDb right now. Ronlea, Ron Lee, because he is in everything Hallmark. And I saw him and I just went, oh, that guy.
He's a true Hall star.
He is a true Hall star. He is in everything. And I was not expecting it, because this was a BYU broadcasting movie. And so then I went, oh, it's Ron Lee. And then I stayed until the very end of the credits, and it was indeed filmed in Canada. So I thought that was fun. And the other one, the other actor who is not well known to me, but is going to be, his character name is Ian Maxwell. So he plays the son, and his name is, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm very sorry, Markian, but his name is Markian Tarasuk. And he was in A Time to Dance, that's on Hallmark Movies right now, and it stars Jenny Garth. And then he is going to be in a Homecoming for the Holidays that's coming out this season. So we should see it very soon. So 2 Christmas movies in the same year with Markian. And A Homecoming for the Holidays is the one that stars Stephen Huszar, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, Huszar.
So, Huszar, great. So the basic storyline is that there is this woman who is in a diner, and she's a waitress there. It's Christmas Eve, and she's going about her business. She's filling in for somebody else who had to trade shifts because she couldn't miss her daughter's Christmas pageant. And all of a sudden you hear crying, and it's not child crying, it's not adult crying, it's baby crying, as in brand new baby crying. And so this woman goes over to this one booth, and there's a baby sitting there all alone, completely abandoned. And so I was trying desperately in the dark to scribble down the note that was left. So I got most of it. So here is a piece of it for everybody. It's killing me to leave my baby behind, but the thought of her suffering as I have suffered the last few years is more than I can bear, I think is what it's. Yeah. And then it says, I want to hold her one day. The very last line of the note is, this will forever be my hope. So guess what her adopted mom named her?
I'm going to guess Hope.
You're going to guess right. She named her Hope. And this woman who works at a diner, who has basically nothing, takes this baby and raises her, and it goes through this whole musical montage of their life together. And it is so beautiful how so much can be said without a single word, because it went through Hope's life and how the mother raised her. The sad part was that it shows the mother dying of cancer, which it was just heartbreaking. Like I said, it's amazing what you can do with no words. But then we find out that she is working. She's working at a website office. So it's a news website. I missed the name of the website. But so it's news. But the boss is a total jerk. She's his assistant, but she wants to be a reporter. She wants to write stories. And so she has to deal with this boss who is pretending to want to give her more time off to mourn the loss of her mother, but then she says, no, I'm fine. He's like, oh, good. Yeah, it's terrible. And then he says, okay, we need to serve hot chocolate and make it peppermint hot chocolate so they'll think I'm a swell guy. Just went,
oh my gosh.
I'm slapping my forehead. If you're listening to the audio, I'm slapping my forehead. It was just so ridiculous. But then, so what happens is she goes home and her apartment has been broken into, and the place is ransacked, and this police officer comes and helps her out, and he's not a cynical person, but he's very realistic cop. He says,
typical cop.
Yeah, this is the time of year when stuff like this happens, and like, can I call somebody for you? Can I call your parents? And she says, I'm all alone. And I just went, it was, but she still has this hopeful attitude. I think people are better than that. I just went, oh my gosh, this poor girl. And then outside her door, she finds a glass jar in a paper bag that says Christmas jar, and it is full of money. It is full of money. There's no note. There's nothing written on the bag. It was just left on her doorstep, and it's full of money. And she wants to find the owner and return it. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, because she has a good heart. You can already tell.
She does. So what ends up happening is everybody's trying to pitch their boss Christmas stories, because he wants real feel-good Christmas stories to make sure that everybody sees him as a swell guy.
Right, I was to say, for his appearance.
Right, exactly. So so finally she comes up with the story that she is going to write a story on the Christmas jars. And he actually gives her a chance, because she's looking it up on the website, and she sees tons of people who have taken pictures. They started a Facebook page, and they've taken pictures of themselves with Christmas jars, and it's always somebody who is going through a really, really hard time. Mm-hmm. And so her search leads her to this family that has this furniture restoration business, and she goes and buys an old desk so that she has an in. She goes and finds this old desk and buys it for $50, and then says, this was my grandmother's desk and she loved to write. Can you fix this?
It's like her cover story.
It's her cover story. And then she also said that she was a journalism major at Ohio State. It takes place in Ohio. And so she's passing herself off as a college student. And that's when we meet Dad, good old Adam Maxwell, played by Ron Lee. Go look him up, Hallmarkies. And then we see Ian. And so Ian has kind of been caught on a surveillance camera by someone else who received a Christmas jar. And so then Hope took the surveillance footage to the cop that helped her when her house was broken into. And so she kind of narrowed it down to him, and that's what led her to the family. And so we see Ian for the first time, and yeah, he's cute. he's definitely worth looking at.
And so does she know at this point that she knows he's the one who is
she's pretty certain.
Okay.
She's pretty certain. And then she sees a Christmas jar in the cupboard, and all of her suspicions are confirmed. So, but the great thing about the family, they've got great banter with each other. They've got a really great homey feeling. Dad and son even have a soup eating race where they see who can eat soup the fastest. And Mom is always saying, come in for lunch, come in for dinner. Just very welcoming. It's your perfect atmosphere. For a really special gift for the special people in your life, this is another one of our sponsors, and they'll help you out. Skylight Frame. Skylight Frame is a touchscreen photo frame you can update instantly by email, anything from anywhere. It sets up effortlessly in under 60 seconds. 60 seconds. A digital photo frame. I know. Just plug it in, use the touchscreen to connect to your wireless network, and enjoy. Everyone in the family can just email photos to your frame. Isn't that cool? I know. They don't have to be ones that you make yourself.
Yeah.
You can just email the photos to your frame and they appear in seconds. It has a black frame and a white mat, so it looks like a real photo frame that adds a beautiful touch to any decor in your home. It has a gorgeous 10-inch touch screen. You can swipe through photos with your finger and even tap to thank the person who sent the photo. This is an all-in-one gift here, I'm telling you. So now, as a special holiday offer, you can get $10 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com and enter code Hallmark, not Hallmarkies, Hallmark, okay? To get $10 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame, just go to skylightframe.com and enter code Hallmark. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com, promo code Hallmark, And so then she manages to bring up the Christmas jars. And when she says, I saw a Christmas jar in the cupboard when I was getting your grandson some juice, and the whole family just the whole family just stops and they all stare at her and it's silent. And she said, did I say something wrong? we don't really talk about it. And so finally she exits out of them. And so what happened is it started when mom and dad were first married and there was no money for gifts. They were broke. And so they managed to put in a little bit of money for Christmas presents to each other, and they saved up about $28. And so they got a little something for each other. And then they started at Halloween, and then they saved up a little bit more money, and they did Christmas, and they did Christmas presents with it. Then they started putting in any of their change at the beginning of the year. So they set aside a Christmas jar, and they started putting money in at the beginning of the year. And then they went the whole year through, and they went the whole year through. And then at Christmas time, they would go and buy Christmas presents with this money. And one time when the older sister was about 5 and Ian was 2, I believe, it was 22 years ago. Yeah, it was 22 years ago. Hannah, the big sister, is holding onto the jar, and she sees this woman on the steps. The woman is crying. She's shivering in the cold. She's got a black eye. And Hannah, being the sweet little innocent 5-year-old that she is, offers the jar of money, which has about $800+ in it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and she says, can we help you? Do you want our jar? And she's saying, oh, no, I couldn't. And dad leans down to his daughter and says, why don't you go give it to her?
Oh.
And just to look at the woman's face and see the relief and the pure joy that is streaming down her face in tears. She cannot believe that she has been blessed this way. So, long story short, the desk gets fixed, and of course there's some flirtation happening.
Oh, of course.
My favorite part is when Ian has asked Hope out on a date, and they're doubling with Hannah and her husband. Okay, but for a first date, awkward. Going on a double date with a married couple for a first date, I think that's a little awkward.
Yeah, no matter how close you're related to one of them, it's like that's like a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Yeah, and especially when, I mean, I don't care how close you've gotten with the family, because by this point, Hope has spent a lot of time with the family,
Right.
but still, it's a little awkward, But, but he holds up a key because there was a drawer in the desk that was locked and could not open. And then they pried it open, and you hear all of this suspenseful music. What are they going to find in there? Are they going to find out that she's not who she says who she says it is? And it's a takeout menu for an Asian restaurant, So
Anticlimactic.
Yeah, a little anticlimactic, but crisis averted there. But so at the bowling alley, Ian pulls out this key and says, "I made a key for your drawer." And they almost kiss. You got your signature interrupted kiss by Hannah. I think it was Hannah coming up to them. Let's get some food. And I have come to a conclusion. All of these stable couples and married couples that are in the Hallmark movies surrounding the couple that's falling in love, you would think that because they're trying to get these two together, they would stay out of the way.
Recognize the moment.
Recognize that there's a moment happening. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so one thing that happens is the guilt is really getting to Hope. And she says to her boss, because he's going to run the story, and she says, "I don't think hurting this family for the sake of my career is worth it." They've gotten to her. Their goodness, their kindness, their love towards her in a platonic and romantic way. They're just showing her so many welcoming, warm family feelings that she's never really had. She had a loving adopted mother, but she doesn't know what a family environment is like.
Right.
And so this is kind of the ironic part, because Ian and his little sister show up at the office to do some advertising. They want to get some advertising out, because they've never really done so much advertising. It's mostly been word of mouth. But she, being the brilliant idealist that she is, said, why don't you go to that webpage, that news webpage, and see about getting some advertising? It shouldn't cost very much. So the two of them show up at the office, and they see her there. And so the cat's out of the bag.
Right.
And Ian is hurt beyond belief. And she tries to explain, saying, "I never expected for this to happen. I never expected to fall in love with you, but I did." And I went, whoa, they said it.
Yeah. Now the cat's really out of the bag.
The cat's really out of the bag. She did add on, "and your family," but she said it. She said it.
Can't take it back.
And then she finds out there's a house fire. There was a fire at the house, and it almost destroyed the workshop, and a 55-year-old man was caught inside, and he's in critical condition. Guess who? Adam Maxwell is in critical condition. So she drives to the house, and sure enough, the workshop is almost burnt to a crisp. It didn't fall, but it's burnt to a crisp, and the family is really, really struggling. And I'll admit to you, I stopped taking notes at this point, because I was like, so I'm crying my eyes out. I can't see in the dark to write. But what happens is she writes the story, but she takes a completely different spin on it. And my favorite quote from the story is, "The Maxwells never sought the spotlight. They were just doing it out of the kindness of their hearts." Right. And so Christmas Eve arrives, and that's when the story breaks. And so they're reading it, and there's a knock at the door. And it's somebody with a jar full of money. And they say thank you and go. And then someone else knocks, and it's someone else with a jar of money. And it's all of these people whom they have helped either
Right.
directly by giving them a jar or indirectly by inspiring somebody who received a jar to start a jar and give it to them. And the most beautiful shot is when the family comes out the door and there are jars scattered all over the snow-covered lawn. And there's this line of people that are giving them their jars, and so that they can pay for the medical bills and they can get
Right.
their furniture restoration business started back up. And then this woman shows up after the rush has happened. This woman shows up and she says, "Mrs. Maxwell, my name's Marianne. May I come in?" And she has a Christmas jar under her arm. Actually, she's invited in. She's invited in by Mrs. Maxwell, and she starts telling her story. And she is the very first recipient of the Christmas jar when Hannah was 5 and Ian was 2. And you want to take a wild guess at who she is as well?
I'm gonna go with Hope's mother.
Hope's real mom.
And it's all full circle now.
It's all full circle. And I knew it was going to happen from the second that she appeared on the screen. I whispered to my mom because I took her with me. I said, "That's Hope's mom." But it was so beautiful. So she had been married to a very abusive man, and she did not know what she was going to do. He cleaned out their accounts. All the money was gone. And then she had a baby at home because she didn't have insurance. She was all by herself. So, and then she left her baby in the diner on Christmas Eve when she was 3 days old. Can you just imagine the fear and the guilt that went through her all those years? So even though Ian is still a little upset at Hope, he takes Marianne to the diner because she goes there every Christmas Eve to celebrate her birthday.
Yeah.
And when she was found. And so the two of them start talking, and Hope talks about, "I always looked at every person who walked through every time the doorbell jingled, I looked around saying, is that my mother?" And finally her mother comes through the door. It was beautiful. It really was. It was a very touching moment. And so then she finds out that the Maxwells were the ones that brought Marianne to the diner. And so of course she and Ian make up that it skips to a year. Of course, it skips to a year later. There's a huge diamond on Hope's finger that she's showing off at Christmas dinner. Marianne is there. There's an empty chair though at the head of the table. And you think, oh no. Oh no. And then Dad comes in with the turkey. I went, "Oh, Dad's okay."
Everyone's okay. It's great.
So I told you about my favorite moments. One thing I will say is there were a couple of times when things went a little over the top and they detracted from the sweet message. For instance, there was a preschool teacher whom Hope interviewed, and she said, and so she went to go and try to get the story of what happened and how she got the jar and everything. And I just went, oh my gosh, you are too much. The woman herself is a very talented actress, but the character was just too much. She's telling Hope to raise her hand. She's telling Hope, we don't eat in the classroom. She's sitting her in a preschool chair, and she's going, okay, no, too much. The boss, he was supposed to be a jerk, but he played him like Mr. Jameson and Spider-Man, like a comic book character boss jerk, instead of just a real boss jerk.
Right.
So But like I said, there were enough sweet moments to make it all worthwhile, to make it very watchable. There were just a couple of moments when it it looked like they were trying to be funny, but it just pulled away. It just pulled away from the sweet spirit that I was feeling and the heartwarming message. I was like, no, leave it alone. Trust your story.
Yeah.
Trust your story. And that's one thing that if I were to say that they could improve on, that would be it. You just trust your story. Let it rely on itself.
Right.
And put the comedic moments in, yes, of course, but don't try so hard to be
don't
funny
force it.
Yeah, because then they become caricatures instead of characters. One thing I will say, the actress's name who played Hope, her name is Jenny Ross. She was a young Alicia Witt. Oh my gosh, she looked exactly like her. They need to get these two together and they need to cast them in the same film. And then she either needs to play Alicia Witt as a younger version of herself, or she needs to play her daughter or something, because
some relation.
Oh my gosh, they were identical almost. It was almost scary. It really was. So I'd give this movie, see, I don't want to give it the full 5 because there were those parts that I just went, no, this is not working. But the story of giving of yourself in the most unselfish way possible is because you're donating your time by getting all that money, and you're donating your money, which can be very precious to so many families who don't have much. And all the families that donated to the Maxwell family were families that had been recipients. And so obviously they were either down on their luck, or they had been down on their luck and they got better. So really beautiful moral. So I'm gonna give it a 3.9.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 3.9.
Now you said it was based on a book. Were any of these things based on true events that you know of?
So that's a funny story, because the author, he said that he was looking for a way to have Christmas have more meaning for his little family. So the stories themselves aren't true, but the Christmas jar is something that he and his family really did.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It was really beautiful. All right. Well, Jess, thank you so much for joining me. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at JMBOSSE77, or my website, which is beneathstillwaters.com.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kami Drama Girl, Kami spelled Kami. And then there's my Hooked Hardy spelled TIE, Hooked Hardy Facebook page, and my blog is hookedhardy.com. And of course, we always love subscribers to the Hallmarkies podcast, so please subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. And if you would like to consider becoming a patron, there are all kinds of exclusive goodies that you get, and it's only $2 to start. So it only takes a commitment of $2. So we would love that. So everybody, ho, ho, ho. Hope you enjoyed the recap and review of Christmas Jars and Last Christmas, and enjoy this wonderful holiday season. Bye, everybody.
Bye.